How's it? I'm Honan,
I'm Oliver.
and today is our review of the kind of dance and vocal unit rounds, both
The
rounds together.
units. The units.
The unit
Yeah.
rounds, yes. There's a unit is sometimes an insult, so it's a weird
Yeah.
like.
It
um,
took a while to get through all of these.
yes, it did.
Just in terms of how much show was in the way for them to be completed, but I think generally it was worth the wait.
Yeah, the structure for Queendom 2 has been like exactly the same as Queendom 1.
Pretty much,
They've
yeah.
done the same formula, whereas they did do it a little different in Kingdom with the kind of like games fun round thing or whatever that didn't have anything to do with performances. They
Yeah.
they did like the Olympics basically. I remember they had the high jumping and everything like that.
Yeah. But then the Kingdom didn't have them all hanging out in the house and eating food and stuff together. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess the trade off.
Yeah. Although they didn't really like show you much of that. They didn't have the grill master of meats this time.
Don
You
Spike coming in, yeah.
know?
They and one thing they did take from Kingdom was the visual queen in this case.
Yeah.
Um so after Minhyuk from B2B was the visual king, justifiably so. I think he's a very, very good looking man.
I agree.
Um then Solo from WJSN became visual queen, which again is kind of hard to refute. I mean,
Yeah.
personally, if it was my choice, I would have picked Jinsol, but you know, it is what it is.
It's like anyone there could be a visual.
Yeah,
That's the thing. Like it's
yeah.
personally, Olivia Ye. No.
Ooh.
I was surprised, honestly, that shouting didn't win because I think if there's like
Mm.
anyone who actually literally is just like ridiculously obviously a visual in a group or whatever, it's shouting. But
Mm.
yeah, who could disagree with anyone?
Yeah,
I guess we should start with how it happened first, which was vocal units.
yeah,
And then they kind of had like the preemptive thing, which they did in the original Queendom, where they all did a little bit of their performance and everyone voted on that. But I'm not sure that we're really worried about going over
no,
all that because it doesn't really mean anything at the end of the day. It's the final performances that matter.
yeah,
I'm trying to remember the proper order because when I watch the performances again, I don't watch them in order. I do believe it was Kepler and Luna first, right? Yeah,
yes, it
doing.
was.
You told me beforehand that was an EXO song, which I didn't know at the time when we
Yeah,
watched it.
don't go by EXO, which is from their first repackage.
Hmm.
It's the same album that brought us Growl.
Really?
Yeah.
uh,
Um, it's interesting song. It was an interesting song choice for
yeah,
sure. I mean, it's definitely it's not like it's definitely a famous song, but it's not like the most well-known song of ever. It's not the most well-known song within EXO's catalog or anything like that. Um, but it is sweet and sentimental and has like meaning for them, which then of course they can try and convey on the stage as well. But if it's something that feels like a personal fan song kind of thing is maybe an odd choice, as nice as it is. So I don't know.
I
Don't know how
said
I
when
feel
I
about it.
watched like all the performances live the first time, and then I was telling you beforehand, I think they were the most vocally stable through the whole
Yeah,
performance out of all the vocal groups. But I do think their song choice comparatively to all three was not the most interesting one
yeah,
to listen to, which I think did hurt them voting wise at the
yeah.
end of the day.
I think so for sure. Also something maybe to be said about them choosing a song from a male artist rather than female one. I don't know. Maybe don't overthink it too much.
Mm.
Yeah,
Chen, I mean, Chen can hit some crazy notes. Though.
well, of course, no, no,
Yeah,
no, no discrediting EXO's vocal ability, of course.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, it was it was a really stable performance. They had some really nice harmonies. It was very clean, and I certainly enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
didn't have any issue with it. Um, but I think it did kind of pale compared to the other two. And but it's it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly like what made it less of a good performance, other than just that the song isn't as strong and doesn't give them as much room to shine as the other two did.
I think that's what it is, because you have Chu, who I love Chu's voice, and then I don't know, you just have these singers that you know are really talented, and you know they could do a lot more kind of high note runs and fluctuations and stuff in the song, and I feel like that song only had really like two kind of moments towards the end where you had anything like that happen. And because it only seemed like Chu and is it Cheon or something from
Yeah.
from Kepler, right? It seemed like they were the only two who kind of had that moment to shine their vocals in that song, and everyone else was kind of just there with them, like kind of singing
harmonizing.
Yeah, that's one of the things I felt like there could have been a song where they all kind of got to, because it was about, it's the vocal round, so it's about really showing like, okay, we're the vocal unit, we have this vocal talent. So I feel like there could have been a song that showed all of them more, kind of.
Yeah, rather than just doing a sweet song and doing it really well, but not necessarily having the flex that you might be able to get otherwise. And I think we talked about this before the end of the last episode, that if how Luna would do with like a large contingent and what that would do to your song, because it's like, if you have, and in that case there were 6 people in the group, right? So it's like you end up having to do a line distribution, whereas people who are doing a pair or a trio, as the other 2 rounds are, they have a lot more opportunity for all of them to show off. And it kind of meant that some of the other members didn't get the same exposure, because simply there isn't enough room in the song for all of them, which is, I think, maybe a fault both in the song choice but also in the decision to send that larger number to the round. And that's, again, not a criticism of any of the members of Luna in terms of their vocal ability, because I think Jinseo, Hassel, and Kim Lip are all excellent singers as well as Chu, but it's like, well, maybe someone should have been sacrificed in order to give more opportunity to the others.
Yeah, I think I only got that one note really moment from Chu too, whereas you know that she's a great vocalist, so you know there could have been a lot more of that. You know, something Mamamoo, I feel like, is a group that's always really good at having songs, or when they cover songs, having moments where the members really have like a moment where they shine vocally and stuff. Whereas I feel like there's only 2 more than Mamamoo in the group that was performing, as far as like Luna and them. So they could have chosen something in the vein of like having a style where everyone's having this vocal run and kind of switching off to each other. Because that's, to be the vocal performance round should be about flexing your vocal talent rather than having some type of meaningful song or something like that. You know, it should be like how good we are at singing.
Well, ideally you do both, right?
Yeah. Of course, ideally you want to do both, but I think that's the most important thing, is showing the vocal prowess.
And bringing up Mamamoo, I think, is a good point, because you can compare that to well, again, it wasn't the unit round, was it? I was thinking of the I Miss You stage, which I guess we'll talk as the comparison.
Mamamoo in general is just a group who knows so well how to give everyone that vocal moment.
But perhaps maybe that's a different way of summing it up, is that for a group as gifted vocally as Mamamoo is, only Hwasa participated in the vocal unit.
That's a good point. Her and
imagine, like, to think that there's a situation in which you leave Solar out of a vocal performance is nuts, but it worked. It was to their benefit, right? Like, to not have to send multiple people and try and work everyone in. And I think maybe this is not necessarily the decision that the groups made. It could have been an Mnet decision. It could have been because everyone had multiple people, which made it's even weirder given that, of course, Hyolyn is there on her own.
Yeah.
And then the other groups are doubling down and sending 2 or 3 or 4 members.
Well, Idol was the same thing, and too, because I mean, Idol sent only Minnie, and it's like Idol had, you know, they still had Miyeon, and he was also a great vocalist too and stuff, but they chose one as well. It is an interesting thing where you wonder which was it more the show or the group. Actually, that's a good point. It's hard to know.
It's interesting to think about, but I think the other performances being small and tight meant that they had a lot more opportunity to show off. And I think, yeah, I think that's what let Don't Go Down. But I still really enjoyed the performance. Honestly, I thought that they sold it really well. Youngun had that like single tear rolling down her cheek and everything. Like they really sold the emotion of the song nicely. I love the harmonies. I think my favorite bit is actually just it's like after the sure harmony that like one of them just goes yeah. Whoever does that, I'm just like they. She's in the original as well, but whoever hits that yeah, I feel that every time. but then that's maybe not the most standout thing of a song. That shouldn't be what I'm going to in a song if that's like a highlight, you know.
Well, I was disappointed they got third because, like I said, I really enjoyed their performance as well, and then I thought because it was the vocal unit round and they displayed their ability very comfortably without any kind of noticeable mistake or anything like that, I thought they deserved a lot of props for being very stable and good throughout the whole performance.
Yeah,
which like I've said already, more stable than the other two performances. But song choice, I think, was the big factor out of it all.
Would have been really funny if they chose to do My C.
Hey, it would have made an impact.
They did talk about it at the beginning, and I was thinking, you know, I bet Chi would hit that no problem.
It would have been dope. I would have loved to have heard Chi sing the ending high note of My C. I mean, if you do IU reasonably well, it's gonna go good because it's an IU song and everybody loves IU. It's like
which I guess sets us up perfectly to talk about WJSN, right?
Yeah.
Like
this was the case when we watched it live. I enjoyed this performance the most because the song, I would say, is why. Because it's the song I liked the most out of all three.
Hold My Hand, yeah.
And then because they were doing a really good job at nailing a song that I really like. So it's like, okay, how am I not going to enjoy this? You know, like everything.
Yeah.
And their whole setup, their actual like performance on the stage, I don't know that I could say it's the most interesting because Hyolin's like sitting on the ground in the beginning was interesting. But then I don't know. I think their stage was the most elaborate though because of
some stuff went on. And there was some nice camera work and stuff, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't just standing and singing. They did have a bit of something going on at least. Yeah, I like obviously that like it's a great song and that obviously impacts how you enjoy it. And it did really felt like what you should do for a vocal round, which is get your main vocalist into a position where they can show what they can do, right? And for WJSN that was to get Yeonjung into a position where she can body something and kind of carry the round on her own shoulders, right?
She honestly was, I think, the biggest factor in their performance because it's
for
like
sure.
Yunna's a great vocalist from GFriend and stuff, but honestly, it was the high notes that were like,
and Subin is a good vocalist too, but I think she in the preamble to the performance was shown that she was pretty uncomfortable. It was not in a register that was comfortable for her, and I think she was straining and somewhat missing some of the notes, but like it wasn't like it didn't sound bad, which I guess is the most important thing, right? But then but Yeonjung is on another level when it comes to a lot of main vocalists. So she has that killing part and is able to just blow it out of the water, and that alone would be enough to secure them the more.
She's like that factor when we talked about what was missing in Vivid's covering like the GFriend music, where you have that person like Yuju who can just like body any high note at any moment in the song, and you know, like and it was a vocal round, so of course when that's happening you're just like, oh okay, well this is a big factor here that she can nail these high notes.
I mean we literally said her by name was the factor that was missing from Vivid's cover. Like they don't have Yeonjung, and Eunha did fine in the stage. Like she wasn't like a weak link or anything, but I think she'd be the first to tell you that she doesn't have that same level of vocal prowess. She doesn't have that same power in her voice. So I think knowing that, and knowing that Yeonjung is the, you know, the sharp edge of their collective axe, they used each member really well. I thought, like, they didn't, you know, relegate on her to having less important parts or anything. They certainly they used her and set her up to set up Yeonjung in the same way that Subin was used to kind of prop the whole thing up. It was a very well thought out and well executed performance.
Yeah, they distributed their parts really well, and then the stage performance of it was interesting too. Like they kind of had their whole setup where they all became collectively one in the center to sing together too towards the end of it, which was really cool. Which member was it was singing in the crowd or whatever?
Subin started from in the crowd.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of funny. Like, she's just singing right in that person's face.
Yeah, that girl next to her did not know what to do. She was just kind of staring, like, oh my god.
Yeah. She's like, I did not know this was happening today.
Yeah. I noted that they started Eunha and Jeonjung out on the stage, like sitting down or like on a swing, I think.
Yeah, it was like a swing set.
And they had Subin go and to stand, and I think that was probably a deliberate choice to make Subin and try and feel as comfortable singing as possible. But yeah, I mean, it all worked out really nicely. I thought
for how uncomfortable Subin was kind of going into it practice wise, she did a really good job at just, there wasn't like a moment where I was like, oh no, or something, you know, when like
she never sounded flat, like
Sure. Overall, I think the thing that I liked the most was because of song choice for them, though. It's just, I think it was the best song out of the three in the rounds, which is, you know, maybe that's an IU bias kind of playing into that, but
it can't be understated, right? Like, especially during a live stage. In Korea, like, if you pick an IU song, it's naturally going to attract the most attention,
for sure.
And I mean, all three of the artists they chose to cover are huge artists in Korea. Like, you know, don't get that twisted. But IU is certainly a cut above, and they chose a very like well-known song of hers as well. It wasn't like a deep cut.
It's a competition round, you know, it's still at the end of the day kind of, you know, so it's a smart decision. Like, it was the smartest song choice decision definitely out of the three. I was kind of disappointed and very surprised that no one did Taeyeon. I mean, you have her there as the host and everything. I just kind of wanted that interaction of someone having like the guts to sing a Taeyeon song in front of Taeyeon at Queendom, you know, like
it would have been an interesting choice, actually. There's certainly some cool songs they could have chosen to do.
Yeah, her it's a missed opportunity too, because she definitely has songs where everyone can display their vocal talent too, because it's Taeyeon. So it's like
I would have been cool to do like a performance of I or something, because then you could have a rapper as well to do Verbal Jint's part in that, and then it would have been an interesting choice, but I don't know. Maybe that might have felt like playing up a little bit too much.
Well, it's not like it would have affected crowd voting, I don't think, or anything. If anything, I think it would have just been like kind of, wow, you're gonna sing Taeyeon in front of Taeyeon. That's what the kind of thing I wanted, because I think that's a pretty gutsy decision to do that. If you were just like, I'm gonna sing Taeyeon's song right in front of her, like, you know, like.
I know you just want to see Taeyeon's reaction.
Yeah, that's truly all I want. I just wanted to see Taeyeon react to someone singing her song in front of her.
Well,
I think
given the preview at the end, we've seen that there's some element of Girls' Generation being worked into it, so that'll be something to look forward to.
Kepler is doing their best to make me a fan by the end of all this. Covering the boys? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be a full cover or if they're just going to work a part of it in. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that. I guess that sets us up perfectly then for Hyolyn and Minyoung, right?
Yes. Yeah,
And
Hyun and Min Young's shoulder were the three main competitors in that round.
I like the performance more once I read the lyrics that you
Mm,
linked. I think watching that performance and not knowing what the song is about, the vocals are kind of overly emotional when you don't
mm.
understand the context of it, you know? So like it
Yeah,
starts
definitely one where the lyrics
so
help.
emotional singing, and if you don't fully grasp what it's about, it's kind of hard sometimes to listen to that style of singing without feeling the meaning of it.
Yeah, I get that for sure. But um, I mean, I thought they both captured the vibe of the song really well.
I agree with that a lot more
Now
knowing the
that you know the
context
lyrics,
of the song.
yeah,
Yes. The first time through
yeah,
I was kind of like, wow, this is kind of like depressing or something, you know, but trying
yeah.
to figure it out and understand like
And I mean, it absolutely was depressing. And I think, like, Koreans love to mope. They love to
mm,
have sad songs. They love sad ballads
like
with
the
really
somber
powerful
kind of vibe
lyrics.
really going through a song, yeah.
Yeah, the concept of Han is like such a strong part of Korean culture. Like, and that kind of those kinds of songs really embody that. Um, and on the one hand, it's like a good choice to do a song like that in a Korean audience because, especially because it's a famous Bolthor song, like a lot of people know it. But at the same time, it might have been a little bit too heavy for the nature of the competition.
Mm.
So perhaps that ended up working slightly to their detriment. Um, but I thought it was a great performance on the night, and I mean, I'm a giant softie, and I do get emotional a lot of the time when watching good performances. But actually, throughout Queendom, I hadn't nothing had got me going. But when I first saw
Mm.
that performance, I was full on like streaming from the face, like watching that. I think the context of the show as a whole, like with Brave Girl struggling and being on the verge of elimination and whatnot, that obviously had a factor on it as well.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that one got me good. So
I think when their performance particularly becomes the most impactful is like when they meet together and they have that, you know,
yeah,
like section of it, you know, like
yeah,
harmonizing together.
for
So
sure.
that kind of was when I didn't care about lyrical context or anything anymore because it's just like really great singing captured together, you know,
Yeah,
like at that moment. I think it again with them. Um, it's not that the Yuna round was vocally better or anything like that. It's song choice at the end of the day. I think also with them just because the IU song the whole time feels like it's kind of pumping the vocal talent of each member,
mm.
whereas again with the Hyolyn and Minyoung performance, it's kind of towards the end when the vocals are really shining as like
Yeah,
gifted vocals, you know, versus the really emotional kind of
yeah.
soft
The
singing.
intro is more about the delivery and the content rather
Yeah.
than like the just vocal ability.
Which
Yeah,
arguably is a really hard thing to pull
skill on its
off.
own, right? Yeah,
Yeah, but I don't think it's always respected as much as the flair of singing high notes and things like
yeah.
that.
It's not showy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah. So so what? Well, so what would your what's your ranking for them?
My personal rankings is really hard for it. It's I would say because you're judging vocals, vocally I would give the most credit to Kepler and Luna
Mm,
being so stable and doing a really good job through that whole song, but I think their song choice was my least favorite. So I understand their third place from song choice, but vocally I don't understand their placement either. I feel like they got done a little dirty getting third because they were really good vocally. They had nothing to judge harshly on their vocals. I will say as even though I agree the Hyolyn performance with Min Young was the most like encapsulating, like I was very probably focused in on it the most, that it had the shakiest vocals at some parts of
Mm.
it, as far as like it's not like they did bad like hitting certain notes, but it's because it's that emotional singing, it is a little like off and on and stuff, which when you understand the context of the song is good, but when I didn't, I was a little like
Mm.
squirmy, like, oh, why is it so a little off key right here or something.
Yeah.
But the final ranking that it got on the show, I can agree with. I would
Okay.
say because of song choice, I would say is why. I think
Yeah.
song choice was the biggest factor, and I agree with the ranking it had from song choice of the groups.
Yeah. So for me, I'm definitely not mad about the ranking as it was with Unhand WJSN as first and Hyolyn and Young second and Kapaluna third. Personally, I would have had Hyolyn and Min Young first just because I feel like obviously that they were like literally in harmony like not I don't mean like that vocally, but just as a performance it was like they were both two sides and then coming together at the end. I thought it was just really beautifully done. um Whereas while like there was better singing in the other groups, I felt like the WJSN on her performance was like it was just set Yeonjung up for the carry
She
and have that
definitely is what
do
I remember from their performance.
yeah. And
Like,
like again it's like that's a smart decision and that was the best way of doing that song. So again I'm not mad at it at all, but it's like I loved the like the genuine kind of desperation in Hyolyn and Min Young, and like when they were coming together at the end, I was like they need a kiss or something. It felt like they had found each other to get through this together or something. It was
if they
like
had
so
gotten
good.
first, I wouldn't have been upset about it because their performance was definitely the one I remember the most from the vocal
Yeah,
rounds. It's definitely
yeah,
the one I'll remember the longest as well, like
yeah,
just because
for
of
sure.
especially the end there harmonizing together, like when it all came together.
Yeah, I think yeah, anything that really sticks with me like that is going to be the one that I'm always going to lean towards for voting. Um, but yeah, I definitely not upset with the rankings as they were.
Yeah, it was agreeable. There was nothing where egregious where I was like, oh no, like,
Yeah,
like throwing my fist down, like, are you kidding me? At the
yeah,
end
and
of it.
they all did really well. There was no like standout weak performance or nothing in there that I thought, wow, this wasn't great. Like there
Yeah,
had been in previous rounds.
the unit rounds, both of them, I would say, have been the most entertaining out of the whole show so
Mm,
far, kind of comparatively to, because obviously the first round was a little disappointing because of COVID happening and
yeah,
making it not as enjoyable to have all the groups having their time to shine. And then the cover rounds, I would say, were kind of disappointing a little bit. So this was kind
yeah,
of the first time where I was like, okay, this was like lived up to like expectation of things.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, overall, I could have been honestly fine with any of the rankings being switched around between those groups because they all did a good enough job where I wouldn't have been disappointed by it or anything.
Mm,
Overall, final ranking, though, I think agreeable.
yeah.
Agreeable final ranking that the show had. I guess that means we have to move on to dance units.
Yes, something we're both far less qualified
Yes.
to talk about.
Sometimes I just see all the dancing and I'm like, this all looks great.
Yeah,
Like,
it's certainly it's easier to tell bad dancing. Well, you can tell when someone's off, but it's hard when everyone is like doing well. It's hard to tell who's doing really well
mm,
a lot of the time. But at least normally you can kind of contextualize it by looking like even within a group, you can usually tell that like the main dancer, they're a little bit sharper, their moves are a little bit more
Yeah,
precise.
there's some
They
groups
hit
you can
stuff
like
just a bit more.
twice. When I see Momo, I'm like, okay, Momo's
Right.
more
Yeah.
dancing than
Yeah.
like the rest.
So twice is a good example. It's like you can always see that Momo just has like that little bit extra like pow.
Yeah.
And it's not all about power, obviously, but just like precision and well, in dance it's called like dynamics. Just like everything's just a little bit crisper. And you can see that with some of these groups, but then it's really hard to then kind of visualize two very different styles against each other and try and compare them. It's like you can do it within the same performance, but it's harder when you're not a professional dancer like we aren't, sadly, yet.
Give me 12 years.
Solid. I mean, maybe on Gus MacArthur's next release there might be.
I don't know. You've seen my JYP dance. I think I need about 4 more years of training.
So the first one, which was the first one? It was the was it Kepler?
I believe it was Kepler
Viviz.
and Viviz again. So it's Keviz, otherwise known as Kevin to some.
Kevin. Yeah.
I'm gonna say something right away about their performance. As we were just talking about people you do notice dancing a little more than others, I only remember Hikaru and Shinbi from that performance, and there was other people there. Like that's kind of how their performance felt to me.
Hikaru, we've already said in a previous episode that Hikaru has been a standout in Kepler, and this like has only accentuated that.
She's
like,
single-handedly made me a Kepler fan. Like,
yeah, like she's really, really good. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. And not only is she really good, she's also like seems to be like a really genuine, nice person. And there's like they had that scene of her like helping Umji with learning the choreo and stuff, and it's like someone who's like several years your senior, both in age and in group debut and stuff. Like you have to imagine that Hikaru, but a few years ago when she was, I don't know, 12, was watching G-Friend and listening to G-Friend or whatever, and now is helping one of their members learn a dance.
I thought it was an adorable thing though, like that happening.
Sure.
then I thought Umji was just super cool about it too. It was just I need help with this part or whatever, and you're really good.
Umji is a super down to earth person, like that. She would never take offense or be uppity about it.
Yeah.
Hikaru was very much the standout, and I think they did well by allowing a lot of the focus to shine on her. I felt like in the evaluation, it was almost like the Viviz members, Shinbi and Umji, between them were kind of just overshadowed by Kepler in terms of like how much focus the cameras put on them and stuff. To the point that it was kind of almost egregious. It was like, okay, we just watched Dion look like she's trying to twerk, but just kind of thrashing around on the ground. Whereas Hikaru was nailing that too, but we don't.
Yeah.
But see what I remember? Recently legal age Hikaru that we don't have to talk too much about.
Do you? Tell me if you remember this the most. What I was vividly the most like memorable. God, I was about to say a word that doesn't exist. Memorable about their performance was Hikaru's like exorcism kind of like moment out of that. That's what I remember the most out of everything kind of from that whole round.
Generally speaking, I wasn't a huge fan of the song. I thought it was kind of meh. And the choreo was cool, and generally speaking, I don't think I was mad about the choreo for any of the songs. It wasn't like, oh, this one is just like worse or whatever. But the songs themselves, I feel like didn't set things up as well for dancing as the eventual winner. Because both Per and whatever the hell the name of the other song was, the one that Hyolyn and WJSN did.
I remember the name of the group, the units. Like it was Exit and Keviz, and then you told me Queen off for the Luna one, but I don't remember the song names.
Kaboom?
Was it? Yeah. I think you're right. I think it was Kaboom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But either way, both of them were normal songs, right? They were just they were basic songs, just like with verses and a chorus and whatnot. And the members had re-recorded vocals and parts on it, and so they were lip syncing. Even though there was no pretense of singing or anything like that. They weren't mic'd up. It was just like, but they were making it out to be like a performance of a song with the dance focus. And I feel like that was really to its detriment, because I was naturally focusing, at least partially, on the song and listening to it.
Yeah.
And like to the, there's a chorus part, and it's like it's a chorus of a song, but it should be a climactic point of a choreo, and I was less drawn to the choreo because of the nature of the song. And I'm remembering the dance round from Queendom 1. Almost all of them were just instrumental. Only Moonbill's Moonbill and Chanmi had vocal parts, of which Moonbill's was her own song and Chanmi's was Little Mix.
Because if it's instrumental, the song structure can be more tailored towards dancing. Once you add vocals, you have to have kind of a simpler structure to the song, because you have to have the vocals fit.
Yeah, so you can't have some nuts beat going on while there's like, and then expect that to be vocals over the top of the some crazy instrumental. It doesn't work. So, and I feel like if you remember like Yeon's performance and Yua's performance,
do I remember Yeon?
Right. Of course, Sujin's had vocals as well, but there was no pretense of singing it there. It was just
and Yua did like Michael Jackson and stuff too. But it's like, I know what you mean. Yes,
but it was so driven by the music, and I feel like the first two really didn't have that, whereas the Queen is Na, as it were, had a very instrumental heavy song, which allowed them to show their moves a lot more, and so I was more drawn to the dancing, and I imagine that was true for a lot of people, given that they ended up winning. So yeah, I mean that was. There's been criticisms about the content of the song, like lyrically, and it kind of being too sexy for a bunch of very recently turned adult people to be performing. But
what's her name even an adult? I know Hikaru is, right? I believe is at least over 18. But it's like, even though she still looks extremely young as well. But then
she turned 18 2 months ago.
Okay, so like, I don't know that I need to see a 2-month 18-year-old twerking on stage.
Shouting is 20. Shouting is 22. I just checked. But.
Yeah, well, I know Shouting was older, but it was Dahyun was the other one dancing. Dahyun. Okay, Dahyun.
Yeah,
I just want to call her Dahyun 19. Because Blueberry, it's also his favorite. I just assume across the board his bias.
He likes anyone with names like that. Yeah. But I mean, I don't think just saying that you get boys to line up to feel your fur isn't that big of a deal. It's not that like graphic. You can
I will say, whoever styled Shinbi, thank you. It's a good thing I didn't have a heart rate monitor on. And Shinbi is the other thing I remember the most from that performance, because she pulled off the vibe of the song.
She had a good moment.
Yeah,
it suited her really well, I thought. I think it's really a credit to how good Hikaru is that she's able to capture the vibe of a song like that when she herself is so like adorable in her usual day-to-day life.
She has like a switch that goes off on stage that very much changes personality in stage performance.
That's the marker of any great dancer, right? You just completely get into the mood.
She reminds me a bit of like Yeji from ITZY, someone who can be like very kind of wholesome off stage, and then it's like a fierce mode turns on or something, in performance.
Well, I mean, for me, it's impossible not to draw the comparison to Haru, because they're both adorable and Japanese and maid dancers.
Ladies and gentlemen, he did it. He got the nature reference.
Well, but I mean, I
agree.
In a similar
Yes.
similar like body type as well. They're both small and just it anyway. But it's like, yeah, Shibi had certainly was, I think, the second biggest standout. I think Shouting certainly had her moments in the center. Unji did her best, but I think Unji kind of realized herself that maybe she was a bit out of her depth because she was never. I mean, she was in G-Friend, and G-Friend were always good dancers as a unit, but when you're doing a lot of solo stuff within a group choreography like that, that's where like it's a different skill set. And I think MG would be the first to admit that she was struggling with it, and she did. She didn't do badly at all. Her and Dione again, and Dione as well didn't do badly, but
yeah, there was that big build up of it, and I was like worried, and then it was like, oh, okay. When the performance happened, then you didn't notice anything. So
yeah, like, she's a pro, but yeah, I don't think in this case Hikaru was enough to carry because it's a group performance, right? And
yeah,
yeah.
You could tell who was the stronger dancers dramatically in their group, which I think is not a good thing in a dance round.
Yeah.
It should kind of be this like playing. It's okay for someone to shine more, but I don't think it's good when two people are clearly a lot more of the standout the entire performance.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Their entire performance is like, I'm looking at Shinbi and Hikaru, and then it was almost like the others were kind of background dancers to them or something in their performance, is almost what it felt like to me personally, at least.
Yeah, I think so. I guess that's pretty much all there is to say about it.
It was good. I do like Hikaru more and more each episode as it goes through. I'm like, wow, Hikaru's awesome. She's kind of the standout for the show of Kepler to me. I think she, if anyone gained Kepler a lot more fans throughout this series, I definitely think it's Hikaru is a big reason of that. She's kind of displayed a lot of the talent side of their group.
Yeah.
Shinbi, I was already a fan of, so it's like, I know,
Shinbi's definitely made as many fans as she has enemies, I think, over the course of the show. But yeah.
I guess next was the exit, right? It was Hyolyn and WJSN.
Yeah. The starship, past and present.
To be honest, I was disappointed because it was Hyolyn and it was a dance round, and I think I had a lot higher expectation of it.
Yeah,
and I think maybe I just had too high of an expectation for it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect. Again, I think that the song was not memorable at all, which I think, again, has played a big detriment to it. And the parts of the song I do remember, again, were like vocal or rap parts that ended up being the focus almost. Like I remember because I was like, oh, this is Hyolyn's voice. They definitely recorded this on their own. They recorded this. And then like Yoram rapping and me being like, I actually quite like Yoram's rap tone. She's not normally a rapper,
but so then you're paying attention to musical elements of the song and then not the dance. So it's like,
and not enough was really standing out about the dance itself to me, which really sucks.
If their thing was like something that wasn't in a competition, like it was just a cover thing for like a Mama performance or something like that, you'd think, okay, that was cool or whatever. But because it's in the context of being in Queendom 2, it falls a little flat because of it's a dance round and I'm not paying my full attention to your dancing.
Yeah.
And I think the I get it. It was visually looked cool, the like neon bright in the darkness kind of happening. But then because it becomes so dark, all I'm seeing is your like little jackets moving around.
Yeah, I don't understand that choice when any time when I've seen that in dance performances, like, oh, let's make the stage really dark
so I can't see the sharpness of your movements.
It's like, well, it looks cool from a visual perspective, but like it's kind of hard to actually see the dancing.
Yeah, I can't judge your technical ability at that point because I don't
Yeah.
fully see what you're doing.
And then especially when you then have the stage crowded with a lot of people, a lot of other dancers again, which is something that we saw a lot less of on Queendom 1. I mean, there were other dancers present for some of them, but it was like Yeon danced with one guy, Sujin danced with one girl, Chanmi danced with two or three guys, and then you had like a couple. And either way, they were all very clearly standing out as part of it, and
Focused
they were,
on them dancing. Yes, I
yeah, but
had my biggest gripe was that with
yeah,
Hyolin's and WJSN's performance, the Exit group. I'll refer to them because that's what they were.
yeah.
Way too many backup dancers. Way too
Yeah,
many. Like
it felt like a crew. It was like
yeah.
a dance crew
I
performance.
felt like Street Women Fighters sent their whole like crew out there to dance behind them or
Right.
something. You know, it's like
Yeah, and then the apparent highlight was the them putting masks on, and I'm like, well, so like I don't care that they're wearing a mask. Like what does this add? I mean, the only thing that came from that was them taking the mask off at the end and trying to look sexy while doing it. And
yeah, the ending fairy part of it, which
Yoram's
was a little awkward to be honest.
Yoram's was kind of cute and funny. And Unsa nailed the sexy, like, take the mask off. And then Hyolyn realized that Hyolyn didn't nail it and then realized she didn't nail it and looked kind of embarrassed, which was kind of funny.
I remember,
but, like,
I remember that happening.
it's, yeah, I was hoping, they could have brought Mommy Son out as a special guest for a dance break. That would have been hilarious. But, yeah, it just... There was so much potential for the three of them to do something really cool, and I don't feel like the song did them any favors, and then I don't feel like they executed the performance in such a way as to make it especially enjoyable.
Yeah, I was disappointed. I'm a bit of a Yordam fanboy, and I was like, once I saw like the outfit theme, I was just like excited at first, like, oh, this is gonna be something cool, huh? Like we're gonna get like some like hip hop style dancing or something with how the outfits were, and then and then it became kind of your generic like song that came on and stuff. So I was like, okay, once it started.
Yeah, and I do have to kind of to criticize the way that they did it this year. I mean, I think having the Street Women Fighter teams come in is dope and really cool, and I had no problem with that at all.
Yes, I loved Monica.
But honestly, yeah, Monica's character. But having them already having prepared a choreography and a song, and having the members look at it and then choose one and then fight over which one they want, I don't feel like that was the best way to do it. And I know that obviously there's a time constraint and whatnot, but how cool would it have been instead to see them working together and coming up with something on their own where they themselves are choreographing?
I agree. It would have been a lot more interesting.
Like instead of just, oh, here's the choreography, just learn it, and then you just figure out how you want to pull it off on stage. It doesn't quite have that same charm. But I do like that we saw a lot more of the preparation for it, because that was something that was very much lacking from Queendom 1. We didn't see anything outside of the one meeting with Leah Kim. We didn't see any of the other any solo preparations or anything for the... Which did, of course, mean that it was a complete surprise the first time I watched it. It was like, holy shit, you was doing Michael Jackson. Where did this come from? Which was cool. But it was, I think they went too far in the opposite direction by really like pigeonholing them almost.
I agree, yeah. And then because, the way it was done, where they had to like get knocked out of the song they initially chose, like Luna, just getting knocked all the way back to, which at the end of the day worked perfectly for them.
Yeah.
Whereas, at the end of the day, that was in their favor to end up with Eunji on that song. I guess this is a good moment to jump over to that performance, which hands down, I have to say, was the best performance. Especially, it's by far the most memorable to me out of them all.
God.
And the best execution as a whole group of it as well. And I was so happy because you wanted. I felt bad for Eunji sitting there alone for so long, like during those initial rounds of everyone picking and no one going up to her and stuff, like, and then it kind of being like Luna just like fell to there, but I love how
And
they came together and like really
yeah,
nailed
and
it,
you could tell that by the end of it that Luna were like really big fans of her, like
Mm-hmm.
in the way they talked to her and the way they listened to her jokes and stuff. I think Unji is quite shy usually, and isn't the type to like, oh, I'm the oldest in the group, I have to be the leader. Like that's not her vibe.
Yeah.
And I think Luna were really, especially given that Luna's leader was present, they were really accommodating and worked together really well. To the point that like outside of just the like I don't know. To me, it always seems like Unji is like way bigger and just like a different, just like way taller and like older and
Yeah.
stuff. But it's like, oh, you could even see her as just being a part, like a member of Luna, if you didn't know, right?
Yeah.
Um, which is kind of good, but maybe it could also be a criticism of like maybe not enough of her individual color shine through. But I think she showed in the preparation, like, oh, she has a flexibility that the Luna dancers didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
That she had the ability to like drop and do splits and stuff that the Luna members struggled more with.
Yeah, you could tell she had done that type of dancing before.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
whereas
for
the
sure.
Lunar members were almost like, oh shit, like when it first like showed up.
Yeah. And so I think they played into their strengths really, really well, right? And yeah, I mean, also I think the song was so much better and so much more suited to having a good dancing. And it's like because it was built around that "Tell Me Now" and like
Mm-hmm.
and then just like slow beat where they can like do a lot of cool stuff in the background.
It was like
Like
a piece of art when they did the full. All the dancers shifted to the left, kind of
oh yeah,
becoming
that
like
like
one body type of thing.
yeah.
It
And
was so cool looking. Like it.
and you absolutely have to credit not only obviously Monica and her team, but the dancers involved in making the structure for that to work,
Yeah.
right? Like, and that's certainly a good use of additional dancers.
Yeah, that's where backup dancers are, just like so many, and you're like, okay, what's going on, or something, where they just accentuated everything that was happening perfectly.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. It was an excellent performance. I think it was the only one that I enjoyed actively more than some of the Queendom one performances.
yes.
And Mnet got the shot of a lifetime with that shot of Heejin in the center with the others coming out beside her, and they used the hell out of it.
It's an
It was so good.
incredible scene. Like,
It like yeah, it's hard not to make use of that.
that performance will probably end up being depending on how the final round is, might end up being the most memorable thing of all of Queendom 2 to me. Like that, it was so far my favorite performance in Queendom 2.
Yeah,
so far.
and it's what Queendom is all about in a sense, right? It's the kind of thing that really makes something appealing, and I do kind of wish that it had been a larger mix rather than it being 20% Brave Girls and 80% Luna, just by nature of how many members were involved.
Unji's kind of the only one from Brave Girls who really, because Min Young would have been the other one who could have done the dancing, right? And she did the vocal round.
Done both, yeah. I mean, like you could have maybe put Yuna in it, but again, it wouldn't quite. It would have been a similar situation to Umzi, where she's like kind of going through the motions. But I think she would have captured the vibe of the song really well,
for sure.
But well, anyway, but that's what it's about, right? It's just like people you would never see on stage together, and I don't think there was a point, whether in the times where they were both not famous, or the time where Luna was famous and Brave Girls weren't famous, or the time where Luna are famous and Brave Girls are famous, where you never thought that they would be on stage together.
Yeah, I think Unji really blended perfectly in with them, though. Like it felt like one group. Like they, out of all the dance crews, they felt the most like a group together,
for sure.
And that is because most of it is Luna and then Unji there, but Unji was perfectly encapsulated with them. She didn't do, it wasn't weird where it's like, and then there's this one person, kind of like,
it didn't feel tacked on at all. It wasn't like a feature or anything like that. It did feel very, very harmonious. and like I say, I think that's credit to Luna members for being so accommodating. Like when she came to the agency and having them show them their rooms and stuff, that was a fun touch. And just the way that they listened to her and talked to her, I thought was really good. Because you could tell at the start it was really awkward, and they got through that. And it was especially nice for Unji on like a personal kind of redemption arc sort of thing, where she had now that not having a second chance to be on a Queendom stage, which is something that no one has had except for me on. Technically, where she was on a Kingdom stage, but and you were on Road to Kingdom, but it was after having not had a solo performance at all really in the first one, and then just being part of a group stage where she wasn't able to stand out. She was able to stand out and in many ways be a highlight. I think it was between her and Eve as the standouts from that performance. I think
Heejin is one of those people that it's impossible to not notice her though. Like especially because she's the center of that like moment that happens, you know. She puts her arms out and they all kind of, you know, like we were talking about it earlier. I don't know what it is. Anytime Heejin's involved in something, you're gonna know she's there. It's like it's impossible. She has that center. She's the center of anything she's a part of. You know, if it's a group, it doesn't matter who you're putting in and out of the group. You know, it's somehow she still fits that like center role in something.
Yeah, and I think they used everyone really well. I think the only member I was kind of maybe a bit surprised to see as part of the Luna squad sent there was Cherry, because, but I mean, I thought Cherry did really well as well, and I think the only reason I think, given the style of, given the vibe of the members that they sent up, because I think even Olivia can do that like badass style really well, and Heejin can certainly fit into that too. Whereas Cherry is very suited to the kind of brighter, cuter side of things. You could easily have sent Kim Lip to the dance one instead and had her fit that vibe more, you know. But anyway, that's a blessing that Luna have, where they have so many members who are so capable in different fields, right?
Well, I think we agreed the thing that was so good about the performance was that there was no one where it was like, oh, well, I don't know about you being in this or something. You know, that was kind of the best thing about their group. Olivia, hey, I was so glad was a part of the, I mean, she's bound to be. She's my Luna bias. So and then it was just, she fits that fierce vibe perfectly every time. Yeah. So it's like, it's ridiculous.
I mean, you saw her room, like, her room looked like a 2009 MySpace page. Like, but like with just, it was like, you may as well, it was only missing a Fall Out Boy poster. Like, all the black and just wolves and stuff. Yeah, you know? It's like, okay, Olivia, Jesus.
So she's still an angsty teenage.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I think maybe she's 20.
Yeah, I overall we both agree. I think they were hands down the best out of that.
Yeah,
out
for
of
sure.
The unit rounds.
That was what I really wanted to see. I wanted to see a performance like that, and I'm glad that it was last. Yeah, and I'm glad Mnet. I think Mnet knew as well, because they were teasing it from before even the vocal round started.
Every opportunity they could show you Heejin putting her arms out, and they were like, "We're gonna show that scene as many times as possible."
Yeah, and I mean, That's what's your ranking for the dancers?
Luna with Unji, which what was the name? Queena, right?
The queen is Na.
The queen is Na was definitely first place for me, and then I would say I actually enjoyed Keva's more than the Hyolyn and WJSN one. Yeah,
I agree. I think that the Hyolyn WJSN one would be my third place, and Keva's
it didn't have that standout, because at least Kevin still had the standout moment of like Hikaru and Shinbi to me, where I remember the aspects of the performance like that. The Hyolyn one is just a God damn it! I just
there it is.
The delay of that going through my brain and like. Yeah, the Hyolyn one was like a blur to me. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that
I
happened.
mean, I can remember the mask bit at least, so I guess they succeeded in that. But all I remember is
I remember it not for good
being
reasons,
confused.
though.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the problem. Yeah.
So yeah, and I think honestly, I think they're really fortunate to get second. I don't really know how they managed to do that.
I don't understand. I thought
Hyolyn's
Kevin's
power is
deserved
enough.
second a lot more than their performance.
Yeah. Um. Yes, some enough power in the voting to take them there somehow. But yeah, I think overall my like if I had to combine the two, then Brave Gods would have been Brave Gods' contributions to the unit rounds. It's not that something we voted on, but that would have been what they would have been 1st for me. And then I'm not sure. Then it gets murky, but yeah.
I was glad Brave Girls definitely had their like redemption arc in the unit rounds.
Well, they've started it, but let's hope they can finish it, because I don't know if you've seen
I forgot the
previews
at the end.
Oh jeez.
I don't believe it, because anytime Mnet does that to you, it doesn't happen.
It's the opposite meaning.
Yeah,
when they're crying, it's usually because they've done well or something, right?
Yeah, it's Mnet they debate everybody every time with their freaking editing on that. Like...
But what if it's a meta thing and they know that they think
they're self-conscious of it.
Mnet's very much self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
They play into they live up to their own thing quite happily. They're more than happy to play that character.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I do worry, honestly, because I'm still not wholly sure what the Brave Girls performance for the group part is going to be.
Yeah, they've done their real like major hits, like so you gotta wonder what they are gonna pull out of the hat. I don't know. I just know that I know what I'm looking forward to so much, because you have WJSN doing Pantomime, and then you have Kepler covering a Girls' Generation song somehow in their performance. So it's like,
yeah,
I gotta get over that happening before I can be aware of the other performances.
I said before that I said when we were doing the preview, the episode 0 thing, I was like, if there's a pantomime performance, I'm gonna be living. And then when we got closer to the possibility, I was saying it, and now we know that there actually is going to be one, with Bona as well, which is going to be a big plus, because
she's number 1 in the brand rankings.
Yeah, she has huge popularity in Korea right now because of the success of her drama. So I think WJSN will certainly be a strong runner, although it's not like Pantomime was ever a hit in Korea. I mean, it's not a title track. It's not a song that everyone is going to know. It's the kind of song that people who are really into K-pop know, because it's just a piece of musical genius.
It's
but it wasn't
a
like a chart topper.
If they nail the performance, it's such a good song. I could see them winning the round, because
but I also have a little bit of trepidation, because it's such a unique and experimentally structured song. They might try and kind of make it more performance oriented by doing some kind of like dance break stuff, or like something to try and make it more flashy.
They'll put your typical like 4/4 beat in the middle out of nowhere,
right?
And they do their like their thing.
Yeah, I really hope they don't like remix it too much, or like try and do something like that, because I think that would only work to its detriment. Just like let the song speak for itself. And we've seen that they're doing some kind of like music box type thing, because we had the preview had them like motionless and like pirouetting, and like it looked really cool, and I'm very ready for whatever the hell it is.
They have nailed the intros of the performances comparatively to the other groups. I would say perfectly. Like, so
true.
I think if anything, I'm so looking forward to the intro they'll have, because hands down they've been the best with theme.
I feel like maybe I started counting WJSN out a bit, because they had like the one like weaker round, but really they were really strong at the start, and I think they absolutely can return to form with the song as good as what they're doing.
I gotta say, honestly, as amazing as Hyolyn has been, overall of the whole show, I think WJSN could arguably be my winner of like the whole thing. That's what I'm talking personally. I know they're not going to be, but it's like overall, I would say I was the happiest with them throughout
Yeah.
Queendom.
Um, and then from what we can see from the other performances, Hyonin is doing Bay, which I think is not a great choice. I'm not a fan of that song. I think it's pretty boring. It's you know it's fresh and fun. It's not like it's bad, but it doesn't show Hyonin off in any way beyond just like a vibe. And when it came out, I remember just listening to it and being like, "Nah," and then not touching it again.
Yeah, you could. They teased kind of that she's not going to be happy or whatever in like the
Yeah,
next round. I mean, it definitely didn't
which
look like a
inevitably
happy
means that she
water.
wins.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that maybe the fact that she has left out Dali, except for that time it was part of the intro, which is a curious choice.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure about it. So I guess we'll see how she
And the
does
final round, if any time to do the final round's the perfect time. It's like
Yeah, the final round before the live final. Yeah. Yeah, you got to bring out your heavy hitters, right? So Vivids are doing Bop Bob, which is the first time they're doing their song.
oh crap, I need to check that out before.
So, yeah, I'm interested to see what kind of spin they put on that, because it's a fun song, and I feel like you could remix that in various ways. I'm curious to see what kind of upgrade they try and give it. And then Luna are doing Butterfly, which is certainly I think potentially a really good choice, but they have an audience in the crowd to win over for that, because Butterfly is not a song that anyone in Korea was aware of at the time. I think if you try and tell people about Luna, most people will know Paint the Town and that's it. Obviously people there are fans, and but or at fans of K-pop in general, so they'll know more. But they'll have to do something to let the choreo really show off, and which Butterfly is all about, right? And find a way to have them wow them.
It's a song they could remix in a bit of a cool way. I'm trying to think of how they would do it, but I really like that song, so I am glad they're doing it, because I would have been, I think, disappointed if Luna just did because they already did Paint the Town. I think I would have been disappointed if they just did something like Why Not or something. And we're just like, yeah, we're just gonna do that, and then because I feel like Butterfly is one of those things. Like, okay, this is kind of going.
It's a very unique kind of song that you don't hear songs like that very often.
Yeah, it's uniquely them, whereas some of the stuff recently I don't think stands out uniquely as their music as much.
Yeah, I agree for sure. Yeah, it has that very unique Luna kind of vocal effect and stuff that I'm not going to try and vocalize it, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
that,
I know. Yeah.
It was that was all over the early music.
You gotta grab your balls real hard if you're gonna sing that high note.
Not even the high note, but I mean just it sounds like they've taken a chopped part of one of their voices and put it into a keyboard, and they use that. Yeah. But yeah, so I think that it definitely has all the potential to be a great performance. And then Kepler, we know, are doing something that involves the boys, My Girl's Generation. Again, for the people who might knowing exactly what everyone is doing has been leaked already, but I'm going off exactly what has been shown to us in the preview of the episode.
I am upset kind of knowing Hyolin's and maybe I'll really enjoy it because I'm going in underwhelmed or something, maybe, I don't know, because Hyolin's other rounds have been so good.
Yeah,
you don't want the towards the end rounds to just fall flat or something.
But actually, I think it sets things up. It would set things up really nicely if she just has a stinker. I mean, not even she messes the performance up or something, but just that people didn't like it as much and she ends up placing last or close to last or something. So then the points end up, because otherwise if she smashes it again, she's just going to run away with it. You know, she'll
Yeah.
come to the final with such an advantage. It's going to be like, well, I don't see it how. I mean, maybe this is where the views and stuff will start counting, and maybe that's where she'll fall short. But
Just
you know,
statistically, is WJSN in second, or is it Luna? Or because Luna had
I
sixth in the
could not tell you.
first round because they.
I
had
don't think it's
COVID.
Luna.
I think it's WJSN because they've placed at least they had second and then they were third.
Maybe.
I think they're the closest in points, I believe, because I don't think
Maybe.
it could be Kepler, and I know it's not Brave Girls, so it's
No. So it's either them or
I guess
Vivis.
Vivis could, but I'm a little disappointed if that's true because they were nowhere near, I think, as consistent as WJSN.
No, for sure. But what I would like just from a competition standpoint is for the points to be in such a way that going into the live final, like anyone could
Yeah,
win
I
it.
honestly, I just don't give a shit about the fucking point system and stuff.
No,
you know? Like
no, I don't
I know what
either.
you mean because I just want across the board like these great
Yeah.
performances and stuff when I because once Mnet makes the points thing bearable because Taeyeon is telling it to me. You know, like it's like. Otherwise,
Yeah.
my brain wants to like shut down, but then I hear Taeyeon's voice, so I'm aware. It's like
Yeah.
the way that I consume it.
I think, and the good thing is as well is that the prize doesn't really matter, right? It's just like a special Mnet funded show for your comeback. It's like, okay, whatever, you know, that's
Mamamoo
cool.
won the first Queendom, but overall, Oh My Girl had the biggest impact
Yeah,
on
and
me from it.
Mamamoo didn't even use the showcase thing for over a year after they I remember when they finally like were having it, everyone was like, oh yeah, I remember that was the reward from Queendom.
Yeah.
Like, and it was just nice for them, you know, which I guess is what a prize should be about. Like the real prize is the exposure and the performances and just like the legacy that you create from it. So yeah, we'll when we come to review the final group round before we go into the final itself, then we can evaluate it a little bit more. But I'm curious what Kepler is going to do because like they are in a similar situation to some of the others where it's like they don't actually have that many songs left that they can do.
Yeah, it's starting to look strategic that Viv has left Bop Bop to fall where it is.
Yeah, maybe they thought well actually this is all we can do. We have to do it at the right time.
Because in Kepler's case, it's like, okay, you have done Wadada. Mask has been covered, but
yeah,
I guess they can just do Mask. I mean, because it's like
I don't think they'll do Mask though. There's no way that even if it's like technically allowed, I think it would be like just really lame if they did it, you know. So it leaves them with option to do like Shine or OOO or something like that, or to try and do a completely different song, and maybe they just think fuck it and just do the boys.
You know what? If they do that, I will.
I respect it.
I will 100% approve that. The boys is a banger. And if they pull that off, you know, that would be pretty sick.
If they pull it off, but can they pull it off?
Yeah, I know. Who's gonna be the Taeyeon in that performance?
Right?
You know, like
because Shaehyun has like a sweet, nice voice. She doesn't have that. I don't feel like she has that power. That
Taeyeon, Jessica, Seohyun, they were not
Tiffany
sweet sounding vocalist, I would say, or something. It was much more of a power vocal.
They could do both, right?
Yes,
you know, like they could do both styles. Like, yeah, like the Taeyeon and Jessica like harmonies and stuff that we used to get. It's like I don't see I don't see Chaehyun and Young and Kepler doing that kind of. I mean, they can certainly sing it, you know, but it's not going to hit the same.
You know, Hikaru could absolutely nail that. Like, I want to dance right now, like the
full
breakdown section.
That's what I'm like most interested or excited to see. Actually, would be like Hikaru shouting their dance line, like doing that.
Yeah, that's Hyo's part, right?
Yeah.
when she does the rap and the I wanna da 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 da. Hikaru could totally nail that vibe.
Yeah.
I call her Hyo because she's DJ Hyo, you know.
Yeah. That's how she goes. Had a comeback today. No, well, yesterday.
Hey, shout out to the comeback. I just need a full OT9 comeback. Okay. Look, I know Jessica wrote a book. All right.
That's two books.
2 books. But listen, but it's all water under the bridge. All right. Let's get that OT9 girls generation.
Maybe not.
They need a like Metallica some kind of monster documentary moment, you know, where to get everything put back together.
Maybe someday though, something like that will happen.
Well, overall, I think it was the best pair of episodes so far out of the whole show. I think the dance rounds were definitely the best of it all, kind of. Yet. I would say maybe just because I had that, you know, that Luna and Unji dance performance was definitely the most memorable moment of the show so far.
For me, the vocal rounds as a overall was better, I thought, but I think I think that the Tell Me Now stage would rank like the top of the 6 stages, you know, but then I would put the other 2 dance stages like lower. But yeah. It was really, really solid.
Maybe I'm remembering the dance stages so. Listen, I have a problem because, like, it's a good thing I didn't have a heart rate monitor on. Who Shinbi in the dance stage thing? I don't know who styled that, but I like to give a shout out to the stylist for that.
So what I'm getting from this is that you should get a heart rate monitor for the next
No,
round.
I should not, because you would have just Shinbi during the dance round thing would have just had me going taking the. But yeah, it was really good. It was, and finally felt like what I wanted out of Queendom 2.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that has been our review of the unit rounds. And for some reason, anytime I sing, I'm like a kid, you know, if I know I'm saying a word that can be used as an insult, it just, like, you get a little giddy.
You can use it as a positive thing as well. Like, the absolute unit.
I'm Honan.
I'm Oliver.
Goodbye.